it's John, and today I'm going to be editing chapter 3 of my NaNoWriMo project for this year. It's a story about a character named Boron who lives in kind of a medieval times, magical times, magical world, D&D kind of world, and he's on a journey. And so this is this week's attempt to do some editing here in chapter 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through and make changes as I go, and we'll see how it goes. So chapter 3, Boron in the Hills. Boron followed the line of lower dunes that he hoped were the leftovers of a road. Every once in a while, he would reach a bare spot with hard-packed earth under his feet. That convinced him he was on the right path. After a long night of travel, as the sun came up, he began to notice bits of vegetation, scrub bushes, and the occasional patch of long yellow grass. Even better, he could see that there was definitely a road, old and deserted from lack of use, but a road nonetheless. Too bad. Second paragraph here. He found a bit of a rock outcropping. That's what we need a bit of. He found a rock outcropping that gusted out far enough to give him some cover from the sun, and slept. Underscore extended. Found a rock outcropping that extended out far enough to give him some cover from the sun. Just saying slept. Let's see here. Tent. Let's start this with boron. Boron found a rock outcropping that extended out far enough to give him some cover from the sun. He set up his tent and got in his sleep sack, and then set up again and went to bed. So he set up his tent, got in his sleep sack, then went to bed. He was a bit restless and uncomfortable. Just a period. The day wasn't as hot as the past few, and every once in a while, the shadow of a cloud would pass over him. Boron got up in the late afternoon again, and after a short meal, he started heading down the path. With each mile, the path seemed to get a little clearer, and the walking got easier. The dunes gave way to rolling hills, and after the endless struggle of walking through sand, Boron found he was able to keep up a quick pace. As morning came, he found himself under a layer of higher clouds. As morning came, he found himself under a layer of clouds. It's like walking under a layer of high clouds. It was unlikely to provide any rain, but it kept the sun from feeling so oppressive. So he kept walking until late morning. There. Eventually he made camp under a craggy tree. The shade wasn't thick, but between the clouds and the limbs, he found it reasonably easy to sleep. Still, he had yet to find any water, and he was once again down to his last water bag. He had hope, though. When he set out that night, it was still cloudy, but there was a bit of moon glowing behind those clouds, which was heartening. He walked most of the night, but somewhere past midnight, he smelled water. He kept moving forward, and about a quarter mile further, he kept moving forward. No, sentences. About a quarter mile down the road, he started to hear the sounds of water passing over rocks. Boron veered off the road and headed into the grasses. After another quarter of a mile, he came upon a creek. It wasn't much of a creek, maybe 4 feet across and at best a foot deep, but it was water. Boron smiled his crooked smile. He wished for a moment that Grumpy Tree was here with them, but of course, desert crossings weren't exactly in the cards for a tree. Grumpy Tree is a character from the Enchanted Forest, which is where he starts off. Right now, he's in much more of the real world than in the Enchanted Forest, where pretty much anything is possible. Boron decided to stop there, even though the night wasn't going to end particularly soon. He set up camp between a small clutch of trees and sat enjoying the cool breeze. There were a few bugs, but nothing particularly bothersome, and it was good to feel like there was life around him again. Boron sat watching the stream and listening to the sounds of life and motion again. After a while, he got in his tent and went to sleep. Boron decided to stop there. Boron decided to stop at the creek, even though the night wasn't going to end particularly soon. He set up camp between a small clutch of trees and sat enjoying the cool breeze. There were a few bugs, but nothing particularly bothersome. And it was good to feel like there was life around him again. Boron sat watching the stream and listening to the sounds of life and motion. After a while, he got in his tent and went to sleep. This time, when he woke up, it was still fairly early in the day. He could hear birds and other movement. He could hear birds. The gurgle of the creek, and other movement. Boron missed birds. Ever since the forest had been destroyed and regrown, that was a tragedy that happened early on, the birds had not returned. Boron went to take a good look at the river in the daylight. The water was clear, passing mostly over rocks. He took a long drink. Water tasted clean, and Boron's constitution was strong anyway. He filled up his water bags and soaked his feet for a bit. He looked to see if there were any fish in the water, but did not see any evidence. He looked to see if there were any fish in the water, but he did not see any evidence of them. That was fine. He still had dwarven cake and the most nutritious food. That was fine. He still had dwarven. Let's just say that was fine because he still had dwarven cake, the most nutritious food there was. He ate another slice and packed up his camp. I need to set some more. Also, you forage. Food now. Boron went to take a good look at the river in the daylight. The water was clear, passing mostly over rocks. He took a long drink. The water tasted clean, and Boron's constitution was strong anyway. He filled up his water bags and soaked his feet for a bit. He looked to see if there were any fish in the water, but he did not see any evidence. That was fine because he still had dwarven cake, the most nutritious food there was. He also knew how to forage for food now that there were things growing. He also knew how to forage for food now that there were things growing. Those plants. He also knew how to forage for food now that there were plants growing. Boron ate another slice of dwarf cake. Boron ate another slice. That autocorrect sometimes. Doesn't really like dwarves. Boron ate another slice of dwarven cake and packed up his camp. He took a moment to think about where he should go now. The road would surely lead to a town or a city at some point, but he still hadn't passed a single traveler. The stream would most likely lead to a settlement of some sort too. People tended to live near water. Boron was tired of scrounging for water, so he decided to follow the stream and see where it led. He was in no hurry. He was in no hurry to get anywhere. The creek seemed, for the most part, to flow south to southwest. Let's just do the southwest. The creek seemed, for the most part, to flow southwest. Boron followed it for several miles as it wound between hills. He had to branch off from the creek a couple of times due to the terrain, but for the most part, it wasn't too hard to follow. The creek seemed, for the most part, to flow southwest. Let's just take that for the most part. The creek seemed to flow southwest. Boron followed it for several miles as it wound between hills. He had to branch off from the creek a couple of times due to the terrain, but for the most part, it wasn't too hard to follow the water. Boron was happy to travel by day again. It was still hot, but not oppressively so, and the creek provided him with opportunities to cool off. Near sunset, he set camp. So that was good. It's actually starting to be very out there. Near sunset, he set up camp in a small clearing, 100 feet or so from the river. Tired of dwarven cake, he foraged and found some miner's lettuce, dug up some grubs, and boiled it all in a small pot. He added some ground coffee for flavor. Near sunset, he set up camp in a small clearing 100 feet or so from the river. Tired of dwarven cake, he foraged and found some miner's lettuce, dug up some grubs, and boiled it all in a small pot. He added some ground coffee for flavor. It wasn't the best meal he'd ever had, but it was nice to have something warm in his belly. He sat by the fire until it went out, sometime after moonrise. Then he went to sleep. The next 3 days were similar. Boron made his way up along the creek, not in too much of a hurry. He foraged for food along the way, supplementing his diet with walnuts, wild carrots, pine nuts, and more miner's lettuce. Is that how walnuts is spelled? Yeah, it's only got one L, walnut. Don't know why it's not finding it. Okay. Let me have spell check off. I'm not seeing a lot of things being found. He foraged for food along the way, supplementing his. He foraged for food along the way, supplementing his diet with walnuts, wild carrots, pine nuts, and more miner's lettuce. He balanced that out with grubs for protein and dug. He balanced that out with grubs for protein and dug deeper into his supply of coffee. The creek joined up with another to form a stream almost 10 feet across now. In spots, it would widen into small ponds. On the third day, Boron managed to catch a pair of smallish pike that he added to that night's soup. As he was sitting on a large rock by his campfire, letting the small pot simmer, he heard movement coming toward him. Boron could tell it was someone, actually two someones, creeping toward him in the brush and trying to be stealthy. "I can hear you," he yelled out loudly. I have soup cooking if you're hungry." Two figures rose out of the brush. Two figures rose out of the brush. Even in the dim twilight, Boron could tell they were orcs. I have established it's twilight, right? And said one way or the other, so I guess that's okay. Two figures rose out of the brush. Even in the dim twilight, Boron could tell they were orcs. He didn't know He didn't know their language as well as some others, but he said in his best an accent as he could manage, "Come and sit, I'm friendly." The two orcs came closer. They were both larger than him, but neither was full grown. It looked like one was male and one was female. They carried javelins and had them held upward as if they could launch them at him at any time. Let's try again. They carried javelins and had them held upward as if, I need the commas. I think that's the problem. I need to pause for that. They carried javelins and had them held upward as if they could launch them at him at any time. "Do you know the Northern Woods tribe?" "I'm friends with Lucas." Boron said this in common since he lacked the words for it in orc. The two came closer. They still seemed very wary, but sat down close by. The female of the two spoke in common. "This is Northland. You are uninvited." At least there I know I've got spell check. "This is Northland. You are uninvited." She looked nervous. "I'm just passing through," Boron said. "I mean no harm. I am just following the stream. I can head out as soon as we eat if I am unwelcome. My name is Boron. I'm a traveler." Yeah. It's just a little bit too intelligent a speech for him. He doesn't have a great grasp of common. It's his fourth language. Boron, just passing through, said, "Boron mean no harm. Boron just following stream. Repetitive after a while. Boron can head out as soon as we eat if I am unwalking. I need to introduce himself now. He's been using his name already. Boron just passing through, so Boron mean no harm. Just following stream. Boron can head out. Boron can leave after we eat if unwelcome. Boron is a traveler. He stuck out his hand to them slowly with his fingers slightly bent and his thumb folded in. This was the way he remembered Lucas shaking hands. The young female eyed his hand for a moment, then reached her hand out and clasped his. The male did the same. I am Morning, she said. The male orc spoke. I am Iron. We are of Clan Morth. We are mighty. Hear us. Boron smiled. Boron, sure you are mighty. Boron, sure you are mighty. Apologize for camping on your land. He reached out and poured the soup into a bowl and a cup. He handed to them. Eat, friends. Smiled his crooked smile. The two of them sipped from the soup. She's calling Morning. The two of them sipped from the soup. Morning used the tip of her javelin to push some of the fish into her mouth. They both finished the soup quickly, and he gave them more. You thin for orcs. You have trouble finding food? No, said Iron. Yes, said Morning. Iron glared at her, but she shrugged. Can't you tell he is friendly? Let's not lie. We are a small clan. We have no elders. They were killed. We aren't good at living off the land. We've had to teach ourselves. Boron nodded. Humans or elves? She looked at him for a moment. Humans, they hunt us. They call us killers and vermin. Boron nodded. Humans and elves are okay in small groups, but the more there are, the nastier they get. Humans and elves are okay in small groups. The more there are, the nastier they get. They think anyone who doesn't look like them needs to be killed or put to work. They look like them. Humans and elves are okay in small groups. The more there are, the nastier they get. Think if you don't look like them, you need to be killed or put to work. Morning nodded. They capture the little ones and make them mine or plow. There's few of us left now, just 10, mostly our age. Boron nodded sympathetically. Elves did the same to my people. Now I'm the only one. Okay, yeah, I get that. Boron nodded sympathetically. Elves did the same. Elves did the same to my people. Now Boron the only one. Teach you some things. Boron nodded sympathetically. Elves did the same to my people. Now Boron the only one. Boron can teach you some things. What you need the help with. How would you find that out? What you need help with. The two of them looked at each other, and Iron spoke. We are starving. There's little to hunt. Will you teach us to find food like you did? Boron nodded. I can do that for you. Boron can do that for you. You are surrounded by food. Come see me in the morning. Boron nodded. Boron can do that for you. You are surrounded by food. See me in the morning. They looked at him for a long moment, then stood to get up. Boron put up a hand. He reached into his backpack and brought out his last loaf of dwarven bread. He capitalized both that time. Boron put up a hand. He reached into his backpack and He reached into his backpack and brought out his last loaf of dwarven bread. Take this. It is not large, but very filling. Take this. It's not large, but filling. For tonight, give each in clan a slice. Tomorrow, we'll get you more food. The next day, 6 members of the clan showed up. Boron took them on a walk through the forest. He showed them they knew of a few. He showed them a few easy to find seeds. The next day, 6 members of the clan showed up. Boron took them on a walk through the forest. He showed them a few easy-to-find food sources, such as walnuts and pine nuts. He showed them miner's lettuce, careless weed, south whistle, and hogsweed. He taught them that you don't uproot the plants, let them grow back. Boron showed them where in the roots they could find grubs. He showed them where to dig up grubs. That seems redundant. Boron showed them where in the woods they could find grubs. He showed them how to dig up grubs. He showed them how to harvest ants and termites. Boron showed them how to harvest ants and termites. He taught them how to use grass to weave nets and use the nets to fish. They had learned to fish with spears, but nets were much more efficient. They had learned to fish with spears. They had learned to fish with javelins, but nets were more efficient. The next day, they took him to their camp, and he showed them how to dig it out and use rocks to fortify the area. And what misspelling? Unique spellings. Landmorth didn't have much as far as cook tools. Landmorth didn't have much as far as cook tools go. He gave them his mess kit and showed them how to carve bowls. They had stone knives and knew how to carve spears and javelins to move them up. Okay. They had stone knives and knew how to carve spears and javelins. Moving them up to bowls was fairly moving them up to bowls wasn't too big a challenge. He told them about the enchanted forest. He told them about the enchanted forest and the path that he took to get there. He told them how to find the abandoned town and the well. Wait for fall, he told them. So they're cool but not cold. Bring all the supplies you can. Orc clans there are strong. And humans are minimal. Until then, make this as safe a place as you can. Landmorth didn't have much as far as cook tools go. He gave them his mess kit and showed them how to carve bowls. They had stone knives and knew how to carve spears and javelins. Moving them up to bowls wasn't too big a challenge. He told them about the enchanted forest and the path that he took to get there. He told them how to find the abandoned town and the well. Wait for fall, he told them. Weather cool but not cold. Bring all supplies you can. Bring all supplies you can. Orc clans there are strong. Orc clans in forest are strong. Humans are minimal. Till then, make this as safe a place as you can. Until then, make this a safe place. Weather cool but not cold. Bring all supplies you can. Orc clans in forest are strong. Humans are minimal. Humans are weak. Until then, make this a safe place. The next day, Boron set off again. The next day, Boron set out again. The Morth clan told him, let's see if I can add this. Third spell. The Morth clan told him there was a town 2 days' walk away, as long as he knew where the cutoffs were. The path they showed him was mostly straightforward, carving between hills and cutting over them when necessary. Boron spent the next night in a cozy valley between 3 hills, where the wind, which had been fairly strong that day, could not seem to reach him. Boron spent the next day in a cozy valley between three hills. The wind, which had been fairly strong that day, did not seem to reach him. He didn't have his mess kit, but he had collected some wild berries along the way, and he ate them in front of a warm fire. The next day, Boron continued along the path. He actually crossed paths with a couple of people. Who eyed him nervously, but at least said hello. He spent that night on a relatively flat piece of ground. There was a little protection from the wind that night, but it was not as bad as the previous day, and he anchored his tent well so that it suffered nothing more than a little loud. There was little protection from the wind that night, but it was not as bad as the previous day. Start a new sentence because that one was just getting too long. He anchored his tent well, so that it suffered nothing. He anchored his tent well, so that it suffered nothing more than a little loud flapping as he slept through that night. The next day, he spotted the town in the distance. The orcs had been true to their word, as Boron had always believed they would be. Orcs had a bad reputation for two reasons. They were unattractive to most other races, and they fought back. All right, that's that chapter. Made some good changes. Looking at it, now what I do is I need to think about the chapter and see if there's anything I want to add, especially. I don't think there's much I'm going to cut out, but there might be some things to add there. But that's for another time and probably not as active to watch as me copy editing and making changes as I go. I hope you enjoy watching this, and please like and subscribe if you can. I'd really appreciate it, and have a great day.